Hi everyone, I am Cassandra Meidi Moises, a second-year business administration student, and today I will be sharing with you my 5 reflections about Rizal's life. But before that, let me share to you a little information about Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Rialondo, otherwise known as Jose Rizal. He was born on Wednesday, June 19, 1861 in Calamba, Laguna. My first reflection is about biographical sketches of Jose Rizal. People are not as privileged as Jose Rizal when it comes to pulling string just to get what he wants in life. It sounds unfair, but that is how the reality works, especially to those wealthy and influential people just like Jose Rizal. It was being discussed here under the Jesuit education. Jose Rizal was not supposed to be admitted in Ateneo de Municipal de Manila. He was refused by Father Mahin Ferrando due to his late registration, being sickly and undersized. As what is being stated in the manual, Jose Rizal has an inferiority complex, and it is the main reason why he was undersized. However, due to the influence of Don Manuel Jerez y Burgos, a licentiate in medicine and nephew of Father Jose Burgos, Jose Rizal was eventually admitted in the said school. He studied in Ateneo and took a 5-year course of Humanistic Studies or Estudos Generales, and eventually graduated with a grade of sobresaliente. Imagine if he did not pull string and ask some help to those influential people, he would not be able to finish his education. If there is something that I can see in myself if I am going to compare it to Rizal, I am not as privileged like him, due to its fact that he grew up in a wealthy family, and I am not, wherein there's a lot of influential people we knew. I did not grow up in that way. I am not complaining, where in fact I am very understanding in this kind of situation, because I knew to myself that if I am in the one who is in the same shoes as Rizal, and incapable of pulling strings just to get what I want, I will do it, as long as I do not step onto other people's life and use my privileges accordingly. Rizal wanted to learn and proceed to the higher year of education, so do I. However, due to his late registration and him being sickly and undersized, he cannot be admitted. He did not want that those nonsense barrier will stop him from pursuing what he wanted in life. What he did is the right thing at that time. As a student, if there is something that I cannot do on my own, I will ask someone who is incapable to help me because my education and future is at stake. Therefore, I conclude that if there is something that we cannot be able to get and we needed someone to do it, let us someone to help, especially if there's something valuable is at stake. In my perspective, asking someone's help is not bad, because if we do not take the risk, we might regret it in the future. While we can, just do it. My second reflection is pragmatic education. If we are eager to learn something and there is barriers that hinder us from getting it, we are going to work hard for us to have it. In life of Jose Rizal, under the pragmatic education, it was being discussed here that he did not settle in one place only, where in fact, he moved from one place to another because he worked as an assistant to gather information, knowledge, and experiences from the people he worked for, and aside from his eagerness to learn, he also did it to provide for himself because his brother Prasiano could not send him allowance because he is also facing problems. Jose Rizal is an Ox and Gemini person. It means that he is a hardworking and he avoided any kind of dependency. As what I have been stated, he did not settle in one place. He moved from one place to another because he is working, providing on his own and gather learnings and experiences. After those happening in his life, he felt homesick due to its fact that he was far from his hometown, old life and family that he was with and grew up with since then. Due to his homesickness, he wrote the poem A las Flores de Heidelberg. Comparing my life to Rizal, I can totally say that we both have similarities and experiences when it comes to moving from one place to another. However, our reasons are not the same. I was moving from one place to another because my father was then in Manila when my mother died. I was born and raised in the province of La Union. Therefore, when my mother died and my father was currently in Manila at that time for work, therefore he needed to get me so that I can be able to continue my studies. After several months of living in Manila, my father moved in province of Davao de Oro, municipality of Maragusan. I was studying at that time, and the school year end was coming. I had no choice but to be left alone until I also moved in Panabo and then Maragusan. Just like Jose Rizal, I felt homesick in my hometown. I miss my mother, my family a lot, and my coping mechanism at that time is to write and rant about my life through notes. I express all of my sadness in my notes. My life at the time was hard and exhausting. I needed to adjust every time because I am not familiar with the people around me and they don't know me either. It made me anxious because I feel like they are judging and talking behind my back. However, I learned that it is just my thoughts and that made me anxious. As the time passes by, I finally learned and accepted that in my life I get to meet a lot of people and it is something that I cannot avoid. My third reflections is trouble, frustrations, and disappointment of Jose Rizal. Civil rights has been one of the common issues that we are facing right now and even before. In the time of Jose Rizal, we became one of the Spanish colonies. During those times, Filipinos are unfairly treated by the Spanish. Only those wealthy and privileged people were the ones who received better treatment, but never the poor. The novel of Jose Rizal had written, which is entitled No Limitang Here. It is an exposure of societal issues and how the Spaniards mistreated the Filipinos. The novel explained how all the social levels are being victimized by the government and most especially the religion. Jose Rizal has been through a lot for him to publish the book No Limitang Here, because he knew that the said novel will serve as an eye-opener to every Filipinos and also to the Spanish rulers. Therefore, for me as a student, the issue that has been tackled in the No Limitang Here book helped me to become more aware and be knowledgeable enough on what are the life experiences of every Filipinos back then. Jose Rizal was one of the people who acquired enough brave to do something for his beloved country. What he did before was something that is unimaginable, but we can be able to know his determination to help his co-Filipinos to be freed by the Spanish rulers. It brought pride within me that there is one Filipino who did a brave expression of nationalism. Jose Rizal opened an opportunity to many people, just like the one instance wherein he opened a medical clinic that only privileged people can have access unto it. However, due to his kindness, he gave a free consultations to the poor people. He is such a very considerate to those people who cannot afford his medication, where in fact, he worked hard for him to get what he has in at that time. It affected me in a way that despite him being born in a wealthy family, he still think of what he can do and best to help his fellow Filipinos. He did not mind the hardships and the struggle that he'd have been through as long as he can be able to help other people. The impacts on what he did benefited a lot of Filipinos, especially those who are really in need at those times. As a matter of fact, he could just choose not to help, but he insisted to help because he cares for them. He did not become selfish in imparting the knowledge that he had. Instead, he used it as an instrument to extend help. My fourth reflection is his child life. Every day, Jose Rizal received death threats, pushed out by the powerful enemies. After staying in his homeland Philippines, he had achieved and done a lot of things, such as being able to establish a medical clinic that benefited a lot of people, especially those who are in need, and also established gymnasium that helps to attract away his townmates from gambling and cockfighting. In a span of 6 months staying here in the Philippines, he had done a lot of things, including the circulation of his novel, which is the No Limitang Here, that reached higher people, which is the main reason why Rizal was sent out again on another country. Rizal was one step closer to spreading his creation, not until the high-position Spaniards stopped the circulation of his work. At that time, Rizal's safety is at stake. That is why he was forced for the second time around to leave the country. The sad statement in the first sentence really affected me due to its fact that I cannot imagine the life of receiving death threats every day, just because I am doing the right thing for my beloved country. The work of Jose Rizal triggered the Spanish colonies, because they knew what was going to happen if they just let Rizal spread the eye-opener novel of his. The sudden leave of Jose Rizal has a great impact to every Filipinos, because he cannot be able to let people read his creation, and would not be able to realize that they are being held by the Spaniard for a long period of time already, and those years was enough. Therefore, despite of the eagerness of Rizal to free the country from the colonizations of the Spanish people, at the end of the day, the powerful people still ended up winning, and they will do anything just for them to win at the end. They do not want to give the freedom that the Philippines deserve. Rizal went back home to Philippines. He stayed in the Pitan, an exile place, for 4 years, from July 14, 1892 to July 31, 1896. During his stay in the Pitan, he found out the death of his beloved Leonora Rivera on August 28, 1833. He found comfort in Josephine Bracken, in which later on he got married and live happily. During his exile life, Jose Rizal remained optimistic despite of his hopeless situation, because he truly believed that and have faith in the capabilities of the Filipinos that they can achieve the national improvement and progress. As a person I can say that I am not as optimistic as Rizal, but I still look forward and be positive as much as I can in times of hopeless situation. I still look in a positive outcome if I am in that certain hopeless situation, because I do believe that there is no problem that we cannot conquer. My last reflections is justice and death. At exactly 7:03 a.m., December 30, 1896, Dr. Josepe Rizal died at the age of 35. Even though Rizal died at a very young age, there were still a lot of things he achieved and he done for his beloved country. The most notable was awakening the sleeping nationalism of the Filipinos through his book, which later led revolt that freed from the Philippines from colonization of the Philippines. The invaders hated Jose Rizal because they knew that he will be hindering their plan of occupying the Philippines and implanting their beliefs and cultures in the said place. He fought for his beloved country through a silent war. His writing was the exposure of the inhumane treatment of Spaniard towards Filipino. His death has a great impact to everyone during that time. The Filipinos started a revolution against the colonizer. Every year, there is a commemoration of his death wherein every Filipino remembers his death and sacrifices for the country. He became an eye-opener to every Filipinos that having access to proper education will lead them to have a successful life. He also believed that through education, he even advocated for women empowerment, especially at that women being capable of doing things that they were not told to do before. Rizal's heroism remains up until now due to its fact that what he did for the country is very memorable and unforgettable. He was the one who made people realize what are the value of education, that education can be used as a tool to have a successful and much meaningful life. Jose Rizal fought for the right of his fellow Filipinos until his last breath. He was very determined to free the country from being colonized even if his life was at stake at that moment. He still continued to fight against the Spanish people for the betterment of his own country. His life has been part of the Philippine history for us to be more aware and be knowledgeable enough on what are the things that he did for the country, what are his sacrifices, and how they become a hero. And that is my 5 reflections about Rizal's life. Thank you.